If you're looking to help freshen up the front stock suspension on your 2011 through 2014 V6 or GT at home, well then you might want to consider this affordable, fully assembled replacement that we're talking about here today. Now this particular kit is going to include 2 brand new struts along with 2 new springs and all of the strut mounts, boots, and hardware for the low $300 price point. So right off the bat, I do want to point out the fact that these are strictly going to be a factory replacement option and not offer any performance improvements or performance benefits outside of just being a fresh set of springs and dampers. Now listen, if your stock stuff is old and blown out, well then it might feel like a massive improvement overall, but that's simply coming from the fact that you're getting nice, fresh, new stuff and not stuff with different valving, spring rates, or anything like that. But what do you say we talk about what you can expect with this kit here today, and what you see is what you get, guys. Now that does include the matched set of front gas struts. Again, these are not remanufactured, but 100% brand new units with fresh shields and all of the trimmings. Now from there, the new struts are topped off with fresh springs and fresh isolators with the same spring rate and ride height as your stockers. Again, these are not going to lower the car, as that's not what they're designed to do. Now the strut assemblies are topped off with a fresh strut mount up top here, loaded with brand new bearings and fresh hardware, while the shaft itself on the strut is protected by a brand new boot. Now all of the bolt holes, all of the studs are all located in the same exact factory spot, so there's not going to be any surprises when it comes time for the installation. Now speaking of that install, I do think one of the best things about this particular setup is the fact that they are fully assembled and ready to be installed right out of the box. There's no need to mess with any spring compressors or specialty tools to get everything in place. You're simply just going to unbolt and remove the worn out or defective stockers and then install the fresh stuff here in reverse order. Because of the relatively straightforward install, the site's gonna go middle of the road, 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter here, and call it about 3 hours to complete from start to finish. There is a little elbow grease needed for this one, but nothing like having to replace your springs and struts separately. But now we actually have an AM customer to give you a detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown, so check it out.
All right, to do this build or this installation for the TRQ strut tower assembly for a 2014 Ford Mustang V6 or GT, you would need the following tools. So I used a rubber mallet to try to tap out the bolts once I got them loose off of the strut tower assembly. And then breaker bars. So I have a 3/8 and a 1/2 inch breaker bar. The only reason why I have 2 different ones is because my 21mm socket is a 1/2 inch socket. So I had to use that one to get the top, or actually I should say the bottom bolt on the strut assembly off. The 21mm socket, a 18mm socket, 13mm socket. So these 2 are used mainly on the large bolts on the strut tower, the strut assembly, as well as the this one's also used on the sway bar attachment that goes up to the strut assembly. The 13mm that's used on the tops bolts on the top of the strut tower, where you have to disconnect the strut assembly from the strut tower at the top inside the engine bay. And then the 10mm, and that 10mm is used to take the brake line off of the back of the strut tower assembly. The impact wrench, and then I also have the 3/8 and 1/2 inch adapters for my impact wrench. I use the little needle nose pliers to take off the ABS attachment. They help me squeeze the little prongs on the plastic tab to get it out of the hole. So, and we will start by jacking your car up, make sure you loosen your lugs a little bit before you get it fully jacked up, because otherwise you're not going to be able to take those lug nuts off. As you can see, I already have AmericanMuscle wheels. Those are 19-inch AmericanMuscle wheels. This is a 2014 Ford Mustang V6. So my specific wheel has a 19-inch or a 19mm socket on a key. So yours may be a different millimeter size if you're using stock wheels. This last one, be careful because the wheel will want to swing out once you get the last one off. Now it's just a matter of taking off the wheel, put my other glove on. Set that aside. Now you can see the strut assembly that we're going to be taking off. There's 2 bolts mounting the control arm, or the I can't remember what that's called, but mounting your strut assembly to your wheel axle, and then you have the another bolt up here that's for the sway bar assembly, and then a 10 millimeter back here that holds on your brake lines and your ABS sensors, and a little plastic tab that you got to take off to try to make sure you don't pinch these brake lines or strain them, but you'll want to take those off. Then up above there's 4 bolts that mount to the top of the strut that hold it into the strut tower inside the engine bay. All right, for this process, you're going to have a couple different wrenches you're going to need. You're going to need a 15 millimeter socket, or closed in or open in wrench. That's going to go on the bolt head on the back side of the top bolt. You have an 18 millimeter socket for an impact or for a breaker bar. Breaker bar is probably going to be what you want to use to get it loose, and then you can use the impact socket to pull it the rest of the way off. But while you're doing that, you'll need to hold your bolt in place with the wrench on the other side. That one's, like I said, it's a 15 on the top, 18 on the other side. The next one below that is an 18 millimeter on the back side and a 21 millimeter socket or impact drive on the front. On the back side up here for the sway bar control, there's a nut back here you're going to need to put your wrench up on, and then the top, the outside bolt up here is an 18 millimeter as well that you can use your impact on, and possibly a breaker bar. Then back behind, like I said, there's a 10 millimeter back here that comes off fairly easy with a socket, and that should have, well, and then up on top, there's a 13 millimeter that you're going to need to take the 4 bolts off of the strut tower at the top. All right, so we're going to get down under here. We're going to put a breaker bar on, the 18 millimeter socket in the back. Initially, I think it'll come off just without another wrench on the back. I think it's holding it locked in place, so you should be able to just pull down on that. It takes a little bit of pressure, but not a crazy amount to get that started. Sorry, I'm trying to fight with my fender. I don't want to scratch up my fender. So we got that going. While I've got this 18 millimeter, I'm going to try to break this other one free as well. All right, so that's coming loose. So we're going to go ahead and use the impact wrench to take this top bolt off. That quick. I'm going to put the nut back on. Let's see if I can get that seated right. Just so that I can use a hammer to try and tap that out and get it loose. But while that's there, I'm going to swap out. I gotta swap out because I have a 1/2 inch socket for my 21 inch or 21 millimeter socket. That's a 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna swap out the drive. And I'm gonna take that one off. And I'll leave that bolt or that nut on there as well to use. You want to use a nut like that to if you're going to hammer anything against the tip, because you don't want to damage the threads of the nut. So as it is right now, it's still in there pretty solid, so we'll have to work on that one. So let's get back to the other socket, and we'll take off this wrench. This is again a 17 millimeter wrench behind to grab the back of that. And once you get it, it'll come right out. And then you can just let this come down and dangle. That basically connects your sway bar up to your strut tower. So hold on to that nut, don't lose it. And then I'm going to take the 10 millimeter socket and we will swap that up. 10 millimeter socket. And I apologize if you can hear anybody talking in the background. That's my neighbor across the street. So nothing I can do about that. Get in here. And so that took out this one bolt. And now you'll see this brake line back here is loose. And this is the little bracket. If you want to zoom in on that, this is the little bracket that was mounted back here. There's another bracket on the back of the strut tower, or the strut assembly, and so that goes in through that. And the thread is directly into the strut tower, so the strut assembly. So that bolt threads into that and holds that piece on. So now I'm going to get a hammer and see if I can't hammer this loose a little bit. One thing I have not loosened any of the bolts at the top holding the strut assembly in. You want to make sure you don't take all those off until you're ready to drop that from the off of the spindle and everything, because if you start taking all those off, that whole thing will fall out and drop all of this down, and then you put a lot of pressure on these. So you have your brake lines back here, but you also have your ABS line or connection. So you want to make sure you don't damage those connections. The ABS line is actually held in with a little pressure pin that you'll need to get either some needle nose pliers or something like this. Needle nose pliers to squeeze it and pull that out of the little piece in the back right there. So out of the tab, out of where it's being held on to. Most of the time I have seen people take their whole caliper off. Sometimes the bolt that's down here at the bottom can hit the caliper on the back side. I was able to get that bolt out without taking the whole caliper off. So I'm going to do that again this time. All right, so we got these the bolts loose on the back side, both of these bolts. I want to show you. So most likely this assembly itself is going to be kind of stiff, and you might have to whack it a couple times with your hammer. Once you get it loose, you should be able to put some pressure on this and free this bolt to start to come out. I'm gonna take this off. Don't take it all the way out until you have the other bolts above on the strut tower taken and ready to go. Also, make sure you've got this ABS line taken off before you take anything off up there, because once that comes down, you'll tear that ABS line out of your brake system. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you get that off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so you got to really try to get in there with these things, and it's difficult to get to with those little plastic tabs. It's basically a little hole inside, kind of like how this strut tower has a hole, if you can zoom in on that. So it's similar to that, except for much smaller, and basically the little plastic tab pops through and leaves little barbs on the outside. So you gotta squeeze those barbs down to pull that back out, and it can be a pain. But you know, if you just honestly, if you squeeze down enough on it and then just pull it through, there'll still be enough on there for it to go back on and hold itself on. But so now that I've got the line loose, so you can see that this is loose now back here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but if you can't, there's this line right here that comes down, goes around, it drops down behind, and it attaches back here, but it's now loose. So I'm going to go ahead and take the bottom bolt out. I'm going to have to use my rubber mallet and pop it a couple times to get it free. Take that bolt off. Pop it. I'm using a rubber mallet for that. It shouldn't damage the threads, but sometimes you have to use actual hammer. So just basically wiggle that piece out of there. I have this jack stand, or this jack here, just to support it. I'm not putting pressure up on it on the assembly, but it's basically just sitting underneath there. It's got just the slightest amount of pressure just to hold it in place. Now with this loose, I can get this off of here. I need to finish getting that one bolt out of that hole. I might have to use a hammer and a screwdriver to pop that free. There it comes. There it goes. Just give it a little pressure, and voila! You don't have to take that brake caliper off to get that off. Now on this upper bolt, I'm going to leave that there so that this whole thing doesn't drop down, and I'm going to start working on those top nuts up on top. With this bracing and supporting this up, I can start taking these off without worrying about the... Alright, like I said, I'm going to start taking off these 4 bolts at the top. They're 13 millimeters. This takes it off the strut towers at the top. That'll allow this assembly to drop down. I have the jack supporting the assembly so that way it does not just fall out when I take the last one off. And so I'm going to go ahead and start taking those off. Alright, last one. I'm going to take it off, but I'm going to leave it somewhat on there just to make sure that when I take out these bottom bolts and I drop that jack, that the whole thing doesn't just fall out and break my brake lines or anything else that I've got going on down here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this bolt out. That is the bolt. So if you notice on this bolt, so I'm going to let this so that'll hang there just fine, just like that on top of this jack. The bottom's out, so now this assembly is loose with the exception of this last screw. Take that off, and looky there. There's your assembly. It's all out. This one I damaged, so I ran over a speed bump going way too fast. I didn't see the speed bump, and I blew both my front struts out. Not good, but good thing is no damage to anything else underneath the car. It's all solid. So take off these strut tower bolts. Warning sign, basically this spring is under compression, so do not try to take this thing apart. You will take your head off if you try to do that. That thing will kill you. So that was another reason why I chose to do it with a full assembly and not having to take the spring off the strut, because they are very dangerous to take apart. That being said, they're very easy to put on as a full assembly. So grab one of your nuts for the top, position this back in here, make sure that your mounting bracket that goes to the outside of the car, that's where the back of this is going to mount to, and put it back up through the holes at the top, and put one of those nuts back on, and that'll hold it in place while you get everything else done. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the other 3 on here, so that you know it's secure. Again, this is a 2014 Ford Mustang V6. But that being said, TRQ, everything that I've seen about it has been good marks for quality. So got to get this back, these bolts mounted back through here. Hold this back in place. I gotta get in here with both hands so I can raise this strut assembly up. That one is back through. There we go. I'll get that nut put back on there. Finger tighten it up. Okay, so we have the bottom nut back on. Down here at the bottom of the spindle arm. Now we're going to take this top bolt and put it back through. The way that this one works is this goes back through the back. The bolt head goes from the back side on here, so I gotta push down in here to get this thing in here, and there you go. It's back on. There it goes. Now it's good. Now you take the bolt, or the nut I should say, sorry, and put that nut back on there. Just get it on there, finger tight, and then come back with the impact and the breaker bar and put a little tension back onto it. They're nice and snug, so that gets those assemblies back together. Now we have to bring back the strut, the sway bar bracket, put that back through there, grab the nut for it, and put that nut back on here. Look at how easy that goes on. Now remember, there is a wrench or a nut head back here that you gotta put your wrench on to really get it tight, but getting it on finger tight for now, and then we can put this 10mm nut back on where the it holds on your brake line to the strut tower assembly. With these being brand new strut towers, this one could, since it threads into the back of that strut assembly, it might have paint or something inside those threads, so you got to kind of work it into that spot. So I'm gonna pop this on here and there we go, that one's on there. So let's see what else. Get our 18 millimeter. That's going to take care of this one. An 18 millimeter with your impact. Alright, that's on there. So I'll probably go back through and just hit it with the breaker bar just to make sure it's nice and snug. And then we need the 1/2 inch adapter for my impact wrench with the 21 millimeter, and that's going to go down here to the bottom. Nice and snug. And then we're going to go back to that 18 again and do the sway bar. Now for this one, like I said, you're going to need to have your 17 millimeter open-ended socket or a wrench, open-ended wrench, to reach up inside here, and then I'll leave that socket on there. Go in with the breaker bar and put some pressure. Now, after you've done this assembly, that's good. Let's get some pressure on this one. After you've done this assembly, oh, that's going the wrong way. I gotta go the other way. You're gonna need to get an alignment, because taking all your strut towers off messes with your camber and your caster and all the pieces that put your wheels in a straight motion. So that has taken care of that piece. Now I gotta just do one more tightening of this, and then I'll tighten up the top strut tower bolts. There we go, nice and snug. Now we'll take this 13 millimeter again. We're gonna come up on top, all right? To start with, so now the last step, we've got all that reassembled down below. Now we're gonna tighten up all these nuts at the top. Assembly is now complete. Let's make sure everything's tight, everything's there. Oh, one last thing, don't forget to connect that little plastic tab at the back for your ABS sensor. You should have a little hole back there or a little tab off the back side of your strut assembly. So down this column, a little tab sticking out to the side, and you just shove that little plastic nub back through there. That holds it in place so it doesn't get tangled up when your wheels are moving. All right, so that's it. We're gonna just put the wheel back on and have a go at it. Everything looks pretty good. So everything's done. I'm gonna put the wheel back on and we'll get it back down off the jack stand. All right. Slide this back out of the way. Put this back up in here. Go get some of the, should have got some of these tools out of the way. All right. Like I said before, I have AmericanMuscle.com wheels. And they actually came on the car when I bought it, but I'm very, very happy with them. They're great wheels, great rims, easy to clean, and have a great finish on them. They're a little dusty right now, but I usually keep them clean every week. So get these lugs on. Whenever you're doing your lugs, you want to make sure you do it tighten them in a star pattern, so that they get an even pressure against the back plate. Otherwise, you risk having one of the lugs come loose while you're driving. All right. So now, my 19 millimeter socket to go into my cap. Just get them snugged down. Initially, don't go ratcheting down all the way down in. Now I'm going to go up top, and then I'm going to come down here, and then I'm going to go across. And now you do the same pattern. And take that off. Use your lug nut wrench to get it nice and snug. That being said, I'm going to need to take this off the jack because you can't really get it too snug while your wheel is spinning free. So I'm going to go ahead and take this thing off and tighten this up, and that should be it, and you're all done.
So if the factory front suspension on your S197 is completely trashed and blown out and you're looking for a fresh factory replacement for not a lot of dough, well, be sure to check out these pre-assembled strut and spring assemblies right here at AmericanMuscle.com.